Welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Tracy Burns in for Eric Bowling. All right, so gold is having wild swings today, trading at record highs, but believe it or not, settling low. So is this a buying opportunity, or should you just get the heck out now? With us, we have our gold bear, David Dietz, president of Point View Financial Services, and our gold bull, Jay Taylor, president and CEO of Taylor Hard Money Advisors. Jay, I got to start with you. You got to tell me why I should buy gold now, because I'm old school, and I would just rather buy a good old stock paying a solid dividend over a little block of metal that just basically holds open my front door.
Nothing wrong with buying a stock that pays a good dividend. I have no problem with that. The problem is, what are you getting paid that dividend in? You're getting paid dividends in fiat currency, in dollars, and the number of dollars that are being created are rising almost exponentially with every bailout, with every TARP program, with every stimulus program, and quantitative easing now. So there's no end in sight. And in terms of the creation of dollars. So what are those dollars going to be worth in the future? That's the big question. And we do know that gold cannot be created endlessly. It's very difficult to pull gold out of the ground. It takes a lot of engineering, a lot of science, a lot of capital. So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Unlike fiat money, which you can create out of thin air infinitely, and that's apparently what our chairman of the Federal Reserve plans to do.
Which I understand completely, but at the same time, I can't buy food for my kids with a block of gold these days. So it doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot to me what it's worth.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You can buy a heck of a lot more food with that gold now than you could have with stocks going back 8 or 10 years ago. Take your gold, sell it for currency, and buy the food you need. I mean, look, the gold to Dow ratio was 44 to 1. It's now about 8 to 1. So I think we're going to 1 to 1 ultimately before this bull market in gold is over and before the bear market in equities is over. That's my position.
David, are you buying any of that?
Absolutely not. Gee, I'd rather get some income in fiat money than get no income at all. But in terms of where gold is going, investment 101 is two things. One is to buy low, sell high. And looking at a commodity that's tripled since 2004, doubled since 2008, up 30%, no one here can say it is not high. Second of all, the consensus now is we're going to have this QE2. But consensus can change so much, and you don't make money by buying into the consensus. At the start of the year, it was about how quickly can the Federal Reserve reduce its balance sheet. Don't buy long-dated Treasury bonds. What happened?
Yeah,
now they're trying to increase the balance sheet, and long-dated Treasury bonds have been the best asset going. So you want to be skeptical here.
I'm totally skeptical, but here's the thing. There's all this talk, David, about people owning gold, and yet about $2.7 billion was poured into gold from the beginning of the year to July, and yet $155 billion was poured into bonds. So who's really buying this gold, or is it just a bunch of commercials with E. Gordon Liddy?
Yeah, well, that's a tricky question. Basically, it's speculators. Remember, it takes a lot of effort, as my co-guest said, to get the gold out of the ground. But once it's out of the ground, it's never basically used up, has virtually no use. Even jewelry is basically, for most parts of the world, an investment that can be melted down and put back on the market at the right price. So you've got this huge inventory overhang, and as much money that's gone into gold since the start of this year can go right back out again.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Jay. I'd wear platinum any day over gold anyway. So why wouldn't I just invest in some of the other metals at this point? I mean, to me, if gold is floating on fear, I can't invest on fear. That scares me. There's no quantitative number put on fear. I can quantitatively look at the other metals.
Well, I don't think there's much fear. I don't think fear is really driving gold. It's certainly not many Americans are fearful yet and are buying gold. I think the buying is coming from the really smart money. I think it's coming from the central banks like China. I think you're seeing some of the big investors like George Soros, the Paulson fellow there with the hedge fund. No, and to the notion that gold is expensive, I beg to differ with David, because you have to measure gold against the number of dollars that are out there. And if you start to compare the number of dollars with the amount of ounces of gold that cannot be increased as the dollars are being increased exponentially, then I don't buy the notion that gold is really expensive right now.